All right, we have literally 4 rooms that we are able to add because the resort has some availability that we can play with. We sold out our room blocks, so please reach out to us via email. It'll be in our post here in the notes for you to just click on and reach out, and we'll get you reserved because...
Well, info@VitalEdgeWellnessCoaching.com is how you can contact us to find out more about Cianalani and the amazing eco resort that we'll be hosting a group with on September 11th through 15th. Come down and join us to rest, reset, and reconnect.
Rooted in resilience, inspired by nature, powered by movement. The podcasts where healing meets empowerment. Let's rise and thrive together. And now, here are your hosts, Scott and Melissa.
Welcome to Rise and Thrive, Vital Edge Wellness Coaching's podcast. I'm here with Melissa and our guest, Lisa, and we're going to talk to Lisa in a few minutes. And as you know, we always start with a mindful minute. And today it's Melissa's turn.
Yeah. All right.
Let's get mindful.
Okay, so before we get started, I want to preface that if you are driving a car or on a treadmill or doing something that you can't close your eyes, by all means don't. You always can do this mindful minute wherever you're at, even if you're in the middle of doing something else. You can always tune in. So please join me right now, if you will. Again, eyes closed or opened. We'll start with a big sigh. I'm going to relax the jaw and soften the tongue. I want to give you a little visual for our mindful moment. I want you to bring to mind a lighthouse. And we know in order to see the light of the lighthouse, those windows need to be cleaned. And in order to clean the windows, sometimes we have to notice where the residue is so that we can clean that particular space, spot. So think of your breath here going in and out is going to be the cleanser of some of those areas of buildup. So starting deep, low in the belly, I'd like you to bring a slow inhale up through your lighthouse, up through the center. And as you exhale back down through your lighthouse, I want you just to feel that cleanse. You're clearing some of that residue. So we'll continue now just breathing up and down, clearing your windows, opening that light to shine through. Know that anytime, anywhere, you can pause to take this breath to clear some of the residue, the debris, the buildup that has just come in from daily life, tension in the body. So to complete our mindful moment here, just a nice big sigh once again. And just let it out. Know that you've cleaned your windows a little bit. Light is shining through a little bit more. So.
My windows do feel cleaner.
All right.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
That's great.
Thank you. Well, welcome, Lisa. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. We've been trying to get Lisa on the show for a while.
Yeah, I told her she's been on the list for months. We've had her there. So.
That's the list you want to be on, though. There's some lists you don't want to be. I think
that's true.
We'll find out at the end of the podcast.
Yeah,
just kick me up your list.
She's like, don't ask me back, please. Right.
Well, it's my pleasure to introduce Lisa Schneider. I don't do real well with dates from the past, but I think we first met 2014, 15, or 16, somewhere in that window, when I was working as a small business development advisor down for the Salem area, SBDC. And Lisa and her business partner at the time were in the small business management program, and I was assigned to them as their advisor. And from that, they ended up bringing me in as an outside consultant and got to know Lisa and her business. And we became fast friends and became Lisa's coach. I don't know, man, for a long time. We worked together for 8 years, I think. And it's just been amazing to see Lisa's growth through those years. I'm just all choked up. And I'm hopeful today you'll hear a little bit about Lisa's story and pre-Scott and with Scott and post-Scott.
Well, and I'm trying to recall when I met you. I was trying to think when did the first self-care Saturday that you attended? I remember, and I was like
2020, right before the pandemic hit. Yeah.
All right.
So we're right pretty close. Yeah. A few years after. Yeah. Lisa is currently she's a mother of 3 and she's currently the owner of Valley Insurance Professionals, and she lives in South Salem and is just an amazing human being. And let's just get right into it, shall we?
Yeah, we'll hand it over.
Yeah, welcome to the show. Now, Lisa, tell us everything. We're going to sit here and be quiet. Yeah. So, Lisa, I want to get into the juicy stuff, which is pretty much everything about you and your life and how you. I was preparing mentally before the show, and I think that when problems arrive, this is what came up for me. When problems arrive, you ask, "What is this, and what am I going to do about it?" And I'm wondering, when did that begin? When did you realize that's what you needed to do, and what prompted that shift? Because we tend to, as humans, just let things kind of happen to us and we kind of just figure it's our fault, or this is our life. This is my life, maybe. Do you remember that moment and what propelled you to decide you were going to do something about a problem to change your ways, your life?
Yeah, not exactly one singular moment in my life, but from a very early age, I was faced with a lot of adversity. And through that, I think, when we, myself, when we are faced with childhood trauma and things that are outside of our control, we look for ways to fix things, right? To get out of that. And so, I think it's a quality that quality of being able to face adversity and pivot and move is definitely a positive attribute. I think at the same time, though, that can sometimes work against us because we're constantly trying to fix and solve things, right? Even if maybe those things are not within our control or our responsibility to fix or solve.
Yeah. Well, I'm a big fan of the pivot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So can you tell us about what age you were when you started to decide for yourself that you were going to do things for you and not allow others to kind of dictate how you pivoted?
Well, I think that came much later in life, to be frank. And I think that you were an instrumental part of that. I think I spent time, trying to find solutions, but trying to find solutions for things within other people instead of looking internally and trusting myself to find that solution. And you and your voice, and you were emotional introducing me. I mean, likewise, my feelings towards you were an angel on earth in my life and still are. But without, the universe bringing us together, my life would be drastically different today than not having you a part of my journey. And you've taught me a lot to look inside and to trust myself. I'm still learning and I'm still growing and I'm still looking, at least I'm looking within. That voice is becoming stronger and stronger. And I'm learning through confirmation that God, the universe, is bringing to me that I can listen to myself. I have a deep sense of intuition that's guiding me. And so lean into it and trust it instead of fighting it.
How did you start to peel that and find that and connect with that? What practices or thoughts or things started getting you to connect to that there's an inner voice that you can build that relationship with?
Yeah, I was faced with a lot of adversity in around the time that I met Scott, and really through his coaching and his guidance, many years of counseling at the professional level, meditation, journaling, being able to look back at the experiences that I've been through to see how far I've come. Has been really transformative for me. But surrounding myself with people who can help my growth and help to support me has been the most important step that I've taken. Previous to meeting you, Scott, I would isolate. I didn't want anybody to know what I was going through because I was embarrassed. I felt like people would judge me. And now I know we all go through things in life, some more than others, right? But because of the trials and tribulations that we face, it gives us an opportunity to, like I said earlier, to kind of be that light carrier for the next person who's going through the same thing or something similar.
Hence the lighthouse.
Yeah.
Yes, loved
Right.
that.
I did too.
Yeah, very relevant.
Lisa, as you mentioned, you went into isolation. I'm not sure I ever knew that. If I did, I'd forgotten. And you started to build new tribe, it sounds like, and surround yourself with people that would support you in your journey and you could support them in theirs. How difficult was it letting go of those that either were holding you back intentionally or unintentionally? And I know your story, and some of those people were very close to you. Can you talk to our audience about the challenges they may be facing and how you did that, how you managed to start that process?
Yeah, it was a slow process. I will admit it took a while for me to recognize that the people that were in my life were holding me back and in some ways intentionally hurting me. I am such a loyal person at my core that it was like, I can't leave people behind. I want them to come with me. I want them to heal with me. I want this to be an us thing, not just a me thing. And so that process took longer than I think looking back it probably should have, but that was part of the lesson in being able to let go and trust myself to move forward. And sometimes that takes leaving people behind, letting go of something. And the more I was able to lean into letting go, the more God responded. And, the saying goes that you can't grab something new if you're clenching your fist, right? So tight, holding on to something old is so true. I really had to open up and be able to release what was no longer serving me to be able to invite the newness in. And that's an evolutionary process. It doesn't happen overnight. And in a lot of ways, it's still happening in my life.
Well, I think it lends itself to, as you mentioned, the journaling and the meditation, all the different things you are doing still, I'm sure, is that change of frequency that probably invited a newer tribe. The different tribe that you wanted to marinate in and feel that support is still, I'm sure, growing around you.
It is. It is. And in a lot of ways, I'm looking forward to inviting even more people into my tribe.
Right.
Yeah.
Building my circle.
Yes.
Right. Because when with that another famous saying, when your insides change, right? It's like that's your environment around you changes. So
Absolutely.
Isn't that interesting, right? We say it's easy to say the words, but it is really messy to change your inside to get the outside to change. And I know that some of the folks that you were extricating yourself from and you're pivoting away from fought hard to stop that process. And, a lot of kicking and screaming in various ways to keep you stuck. And
yeah,
it's messy. I want to make sure that our audience understands that we're telling a story here that is going to be, we'll talk about for 30 minutes or a little longer, but this has been years and years and years of you trying to find your inner voice and being sucked back in and trying to find it and being sucked back in to the point where now you know the signs. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I know that you know when, oh, this person, I've seen this movie before. So what is that feeling, or what is that? Can you describe when you know something's right and when you know when something's wrong, and how quickly you can make that choice now?
Yeah. It's so challenging. I'm a deeply analytical person. That's my nature. I'm in my head a lot, and that's not how your intuitive side works, right?
Right.
I can think myself out of anything, but being able to actually feel what's going on inside of my body, to be able to pick up on those cues that something's not right, that has been a process of development. And I think I'm just getting to the point to where I can recognize it in ways. And so being able to tune in and take a moment, and instead of being on the spin cycle inside my brain, being able to slow down and really listen. Wait, why is my gut feeling like this?
Yeah.
Why am I feeling some pressure here?
Yeah.
Yeah, where is this coming from? And to really then be able to evaluate it before making a decision, and then not second guessing myself in that, trusting that the decision I made is right for me, and just moving forward with it instead of being in that self-doubt cycle. Yeah. And I have to say it too, like a part of this, in that messiness of the healing journey and all of the traumatic events that happen, there's so much grief in there to work through as well. It is bone deep, as someone had, in my circle had said. It is so painful to go through a process like mine, and trauma that other people have faced, that it really hits you to your core, and there's a lot of grief because you are not the same person coming out the other side.
Which is the goal,
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
even though it's
It's
painful.
scary though.
Yeah.
But you can't see the other
Mm-mm.
side, right? That's where the trust and the intuition and just leaning into the process. And you always would say to me, trust that this is happening for your highest and greatest good.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my mantra for so
Mm-hmm.
many years,
Mm-hmm.
that I just had to lean into.
Yeah. I believe that for all of us, and I struggle with it. It's a human condition, and um, I think that coaching and counseling and reflective time through a neutral party is super important for that process. It's my belief, and if some of us don't have that access, though, some of us don't have anybody we can share things with that we trust, that we won't be worried that they won't weaponize that and use it against us, or be dismissed and made to feel even smaller. And so I'm talking more to the audience right now, that work to find that neutral person. And I say neutral intentionally, because if I go and talk to my mom about what's going on in my life, she's always going to fall on the side of, oh, honey, you'll do great. And sometimes you don't need to hear that. You need to hear, you need to get your shit together. You're not following the right journey here. And so a neutral person can help you see those things. And sometimes you got to break that cycle of who you're communicating what with. And Lisa did a messy, good job of that. And is, like she said, is a work in progress. I too still find myself, as loyal as I am, getting my bridges burned. And I don't think I'd change anything about me for that, because I like who I am, but I am also very much more cautious about energy vampires, people who want to use you for what they don't have, and people who are really good at lying to your face, and you find out they're actually somebody else later down the road. As she nods in
Yes.
flashbacks of all those people.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing maybe this is a repeat question in some ways, but how do you cut those energy ties with family?
Yeah, that's a challenge. I think I finally got to the point of realizing that I was, by me continuously trying to leave that door open for those people to change, that I had to say, no more. This is in my best interest. This is in my children's best interest, and trust that process. And you be forgiving, but realize that their change is outside of my control. And that's their journey, not mine. And so I have to separate my path now.
I love that you've identified where the fork is on my journey. We want to go on those journeys with our loved ones, and sometimes we can't go on those journeys, but because we've been down so much of a journey, we're loyal and we need to stay with them on that journey. And that's not how life always works.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all. And, I was raised in a very Christian environment. And I took that, I'll speak to my marriage, I took that oath very seriously, like till death do us part, and health and sickness. And when you're on a journey with someone who isn't honoring the same oath that you've taken, that's hard. And so, I had to realize that it wasn't serving me any longer. And that's clearly my loyalty was different than his loyalty, and it had to be left in the past to be able to move forward.
I remember another epiphany that you had was you started thinking about the model you were setting for your kids.
That's
I'm getting emotional again. And you weren't going to, if you weren't going to do it for yourself, damn it, you were going to do it for them. And then you got the benefit through them for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is just like,
well, I can speak to that because I've had that same experience, similar experience.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we need, as loyal people, I can relate with that a lot, that sometimes we need that courage, and that when we've been a people pleaser and been someone that wants to make sure people are included and on the journey, and that when we realize, especially when our children, because they are us, that courage to take that step because of wanting them to break the pattern.
Exactly.
And so I could totally relate with you on that. It's, I am very thankful for my children for that, because in turn, like Scott said, I benefited from that by, keeping them in mind that by making this choice, I'm pushing myself to take this action step. And now, thankful for that. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. My children have been such a godsend. And I will share, at the end of my marriage, my former spouse and I had separated, and I found out nearly 4 weeks to the day that I was pregnant with my now 7-year-old. And so that added to the complexity of trying to finally have enough courage to say, this isn't for me anymore, and I need to leave. But then feeling like, oh my gosh, now I'm being pulled back because, here I am now expecting another child. It was a ride.
yes,
With so many complexities to that journey. At the end of the day, she has been, one of my biggest blessings in life. And I couldn't imagine life without her, because of my kids, love them all dearly. Of my kids, she reminds me the most of the little girl inside of me. And so to be able to have that mirror is such an amazing blessing in my life.
Yeah. Well, and you get to live vicariously, closely through her, the life you didn't get an opportunity to have at that age. And you have told me about how you think she's an indigo child, like she's this flowing spirit, and the energy that she brings and the wisdom of her age, beyond her age, is feeding that other part of you that is growing spiritually. So it feels like, correct me if I'm wrong, Lisa, but it feels like you knew that while she was still in your womb. I remember you telling me, I have a sense about her nature and spirituality that is going to be in alignment with what I am doing and seeking. Am I making that up?
I got to that point. At first, it was like, oh my gosh,
what's happening?
what is happening?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I will be
Yeah.
honest
Yeah.
and transparent, because at first it was just like
Overwhelmed.
kind of right before my 40th birthday, wasn't expecting to have more children. It was, one of the biggest surprises of my life.
Running a business full time by yourself, right? You have other kids, you're managing all that by yourself.
I had, at the time, my mom was in the hospital. She, for a very long time, had nearly died multiple times. It just was, what more?
Right.
Like, I can't even. But through my journey of finding those support systems, to really, lean into and envelop into me, was the fact that everything happens for a reason. Trust that this is happening for your highest and greatest good. Through that, and through, her growing inside me, is where I really feel like that connection came. And yes, I had a lot of intuitive dreams and visions during my time being pregnant with her. Yeah.
I talk a lot about seasons, and I use myself as the example of different versions of me. I'm still me, but I'm not the 20-year-old version, and not the 30-year-old version. And I love that. I like the evolvement. You've always been very tough. You've always been tough, more on yourself than anyone else. And because you've had to be tough, how have you found the process of getting more soft to allow? And does this toughness still come up sometimes to say, no, you need to be tough sometimes too? But how have you managed to balance that evolvement from being tough all the time and stiff upper lip and making that show for others versus saying, I need to be soft so I'm open so I can receive?
Yeah, that's a great question. I have been referred to a couple of times as a scrapper.
You are that.
I'm a fighter. That's for sure. I don't give up. I don't give up at all. But with that said, I've recognized that there are situations in life in which releasing isn't the same as giving up. And so through that releasing and through that letting go has come naturally a softening. I'm not holding as strong and hard to things. I'm opening up and I'm being able to let go, and then inviting in this concept of the softening. And I think naturally then you move from, as a woman, when we're faced with a lot of trauma and adversity, we can definitely be in our masculine more than in our feminine. And it takes a lot of work and effort to balance that, to become softer. That doesn't mean that you're becoming weak. It means that you're just allowing flow instead of taking a rigid approach in life.
I knew Melissa was like,
I love what you're saying.
Yeah.
Just so many. I mean, I want to just repeat that, put that in a quote, because so many women think of it as being weak, and it is a redefining.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I feel like the more I'm releasing and the softer I'm becoming, the stronger I'm becoming at the same time. I've never felt so much personal empowerment as I do today. And I'm so excited for how the future is going to take me in this journey, to see where I'm headed with it, and to invite new things into my life outside of traumatic experiences. Because I have to say, everything happens for your highest and greatest good, right? That's been something to where, I lean so heavily on that. There's got to be a reason I'm going through this, and I've got to have a lesson at the end that I'm learning from this. And to recognize that life isn't just about lessons. Life is about enjoying the ride, and I can learn and grow and develop outside of adversity. as well as I have inside adversity.
Well said. Yes, that's really a key component to finding your balance.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you lock yourself into adversity and trying to learn the lessons. Lisa, what do you want to do? What's your future hold for you? What, as this growth continues, we've talked about where you are and where you were and where you are. What do you want to be, do, and have for yourself in the future?
Yeah, that's such a great question, in which I'm still discovering.
Yeah.
I love that I'm at this layer in life to where I truly feel I'm the most confident I've ever been in who I am. And I truly feel like that's opening up to where my purpose is. And I feel like I have faced these trials and tribulations in my life, obviously for a reason, to be able to give back to people in a way to help support people through their own adversity. However that happens, I don't know. I'm still trying to discover how that will come to be, but truly know that that's a purpose for me, is to give back in that way and help support others the way you've supported me in my journey, and others have done the same. Yeah.
Amazing. You're going to be amazing in your continued evolvement in your journey. And I just know it. And, you know, I think that we could go for another 2 hours because we haven't even touched on so many things around Lisa and her journey and the amazing things that's come out of the adversity that she's faced and the way she's raising her kids to handle adversity. I wanted to get into that. We're running out of time, but her kids are amazing and they're doing great things. You're taking your son to college. He's there now, I understand.
And next month.
Next month. Okay.
We live in 3 weeks.
Yeah. And so, you know, it's another big step, right? You didn't have the opportunity to do that, and now he's doing it. And I just would love to continue this conversation. So I'm wondering if you would come back again for a future podcast so we can continue this. And
I would love to.
okay,
Yeah.
that'd be great. Do you have any final thoughts or questions for Lisa?
No, I just want to dig in. I would just want to thank you for sharing, because I can completely relate to what you shared, and want to just empower both of us that when you do soften, it isn't weakness, and that it actually builds that confidence and strength and taps into a power that we've never known. And so I just want to encourage you to keep doing that and keep letting that frequency change and inviting those around you that are on that same path.
Thank you. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Scott.
Yes, we'll leave you with one question for our audience. If you could give one piece of advice to a person, a woman or a man, going through something absolutely traumatic that they don't see the end of the tunnel, they don't see the light, where would you have them begin?
Where would I have them begin? I would have them begin by finding one person that they can confide in, a safe person, whether that be a counselor or a friend, just someone that you can confide in. Journal, absolutely write down the experiences that you're going through, and recognize that any transformation that you're going through is going to require that something has to end. And you have to be okay with that.
Yeah, that's great.
It is okay for some things to end.
Yeah.
That's great.
In order to move forward.
That's how new beginnings have space to come to you, right? Yeah. Thank you for that. All right. Thank you, Lisa. I want to mention to the audience, because we didn't do this in the middle of our podcast, but our retreat, September 11th through 15th, the room blocks are sold out. However, we do still have some space based on availability from the resort. Mm-hmm. And so if you still have a desire to go, reach out to us. We'll see what we can do. We'll talk to the resort and find you some space. And we hope to see you there in September. And if not, we'll see you next week. And I want to encourage you to be sure and take care of each other. And don't forget to take care of yourself. Mm-hmm. We'll see you next time on Rise and Thrive.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Rise and Thrive. If you're ready for a deeper reset, join us for our upcoming wellness retreat in Mexico, September 11th to 15th. It's the perfect opportunity to recharge through movement, mindfulness, and connection. Visit VitalEdgeWellnessCoaching.com to learn more. If you found this episode valuable, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who could use a little more rise and thrive in their life. Follow us on your favorite platform to stay inspired. And until next time, keep rising and keep thriving.